What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of BeReel365. Today is day 6, and the question for today is, what makes your life worth living? Man, this is something I think is super important right now, because we're getting ready to come up on September, which I think is like mental health awareness month, and mental health is something that we just don't talk about as a society enough. It's definitely a conversation that we should have more of, and there's a lot of people that are struggling with things that that you just never know, and because they don't tell anybody and they hold it in. Something that I've never told anybody on that note is I in the last year, I have struggled with a lot, and there's been a couple times that I didn't think I had anything worth living for. I've never told anyone that. First time, literally. And I was just at a really bad place. I was at a place where my business had failed. My relationship had failed. My family life had fallen apart. I hadn't talked to my daughter in months. And I was just extremely unhappy. And didn't think that there was anything. That there was anything worth living for. And there were 2 times that I remember sitting on the edge of my bed wondering how I was going to kill myself. That was last year. And I've never told anyone that. I think we have this stigma around, like, of thinking that it's like taboo to talk about things of this nature, that people will judge us, and you don't want the judgment. It goes back to what we were talking about yesterday, which was, do other people's opinions of you affect how you live your life? And I would say at that time they did. A year ago they did, and but it was really just, and even up to this point, because I've never told anyone. If I were to be real and be honest, and because I didn't want people judging me by saying that, right? Them thinking, like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with him? I just didn't want that, so I've never said it, but I think it needs to be talked about. And I never thought that I would get to that point. Never. If you'd have asked me before last year, would you ever think about ending your life? I would have flat out told you absolutely not. Until it happened. Until I got to that point. Super scary point. We're so open to talk about, like, even cancer, which is still a hard subject, right? We're still open to say, like, oh, she has cancer, like, oh, like I just got cancer. As hard of a subject as that, we're still more open to talk about that than we are to say, I am so unhappy with myself that I think about not being in this life anymore. And that's a shame. It really is a shame. We as a society shouldn't be like that, and we should bring more awareness to the mental health issues that are going on in our country. Even people that you look at every single day that you think are have the perfect life, they're super successful, have everything going right for them. There are people within that group that are also struggling with things, that have thought about ending their life too. And at that moment, when that happened, to go back to the question for today, what is it that makes your life worth living? For me, I thought of my daughter, even though I haven't talked to or seen my daughter in a long time. And I thought, well, she doesn't really know me now. Like, I don't want 10 years. Like, when she grows up and becomes an adult, like, wonder what happened, and like I wouldn't be here to explain. And then I thought about, my family who like wouldn't have known anything and would have had all these questions and would have crushed them. And then I thought about, like, man, I haven't even begun to achieve the dreams and goals that I have for myself. And so those are the things I figured out for me is what made my life worth living. Like, I know that I have a story that needs to be told. And I know that there are things that have happened in my life that can provide value to other people, which is one of the main reasons about starting this series, this 365 day series, is I'm hoping that by opening up to my own answers, by being real with myself, that it in turn makes you all feel comfortable to be real with your own selves. I mean, at the bare minimum, that's my hope for this series. And I hope with this subject today that if there's somebody that's out there watching this or listening to this or reading this in a blog post, I hope that if you're going through anything, that you at least reach out to someone. You can, by all means, reach out to me. There are also some great organizations out there that you can reach out to and just talk to somebody. Like, literally, sometimes I think at the bare minimum, just talking to someone helps, even in the least little bit, right? I hope that we as a nation and as a society can get to a point where this can be just as normal, talking about mental health issues in a positive light, and I'll talk about that in a minute, in a positive light, as easy as it is to talk about, like, hey, I fell down today and busted my toe up, right? Like, literally, I hope that they're one and the same. I hope that they're both just as easy to talk about and mention and be open with. I think that we use mental health as a crux in our society a lot, especially with all the shootings. And, when it's white people, it's like, oh, they have mental health issues. Like, sometimes that's the case, but a lot of times it's not the case. And I'm not going to get on even more of a political rant with that. But, I almost feel about it sometimes like, in those sort of circumstances, like, we just use it as just an easy cop out, and we just brush it off like that, and we say it one time and like, oh, it's a mental health issue, and then when they were disturbed, they had things going on, and then we just disregard it, like, okay, we've mentioned it, we're good, and now let's just forget about it. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, even the fact that you're just brushing it off as mental health, let's just disregard the fact that you're just automatically assuming and trying to label it as mental health. Why then do we stop the conversation at that? Why then do we not continue to go into the conversation of what mental health is, the people that are actually having issues and having these thoughts in their head? Why then do we stop the conversation 2 days later when we move on to some other new subject? I don't know if there's anybody out there that feels the same way that I do about that. But I hope it changes. And if you're in Richmond watching this or listening to this, there's a fantastic organization called Runway to Life. And it's run by a lady named Alicia Amsler. Incredible woman, incredible organization, all about mental health awareness. And they have a fantastic event coming up in a couple months called Runway to Life. And definitely reach out to them. I'll tag them and put their info in everywhere that you're watching or listening or reading this. And once again, if you're watching this and you have any kind of feelings of you just not really sure why you're living your life, and you think that you just don't have anything to live for, reach out to somebody. Please do that. Um, you're more than welcome to reach out to me if you want. I'll do my best to listen and give any kind of value that I can. I think once again, it's good to just have someone that is listening to you, because I know that's what a big thing for me was. I felt like nobody was listening to me. I felt like I was. I felt like it was obvious what I was going through and the struggles that I had in my own mind, but that was the thing. They were in my own mind. Like, I thought I was displaying them outwardly when I wasn't. And so that would be that would be my hope for you all, is that you reach outwardly to someone else, and literally just for them to listen. That would be my hope for you all. And so for me, it's getting to a point. What I have to live for now is a relationship with my daughter, a true relationship with my daughter, which I know one day will happen, and to have a life that I know that I'm meant to live. That's what keeps me going. So with that, thank you very much for taking the time once again to watch this or listen to this or read this in a blog post. And I sincerely appreciate your time. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.